Welcome back to the auditorium. And we begin by a very pleasant task. All the young members of the high school took part in a photography workshop, and their facilitator, Radha Ganeshan, says that they turned in pretty amazing work, so we would like to recognize that. So the first group would be the group led by Helen, Stages of Life. Can I have those photographs up then? Can I have the team up here quickly? And could I request Nitya Khemka to please come and give away the prizes? And Radha to please come with her. All right, then we have another team, photographs based on man and nature. Elizabeth Berg, Vedika, Tanya, are they here? Any member of the team, please come up. Then we have the team which has given photographs called Perspective. Jayashree Khemka, Anunya and Miran. Where are they? Jayashree, are you here? Then we have the star performers, the best of the lot. The first time I played the piano with Shanta Venugopal, Aditya Shukla, Gayatri Khemka and Vedika Agarwal. All right, big round of applause. While you guys were doing the T-Guelph roadmap, you can see that they were very gainfully employed. It's my pleasure today now to welcome on stage Mr. Robert Wilson Black, who is the CEO of Sojourn, who has a reach of over, I don't know how many, 10 million people that he has on his program. I'd request him to please come up and share some of his experiences with us.
Thanks so much. It's an honor to be here, and I want to begin my 10 minutes by asking a question, two questions that I will not be asking us to say out loud, so you can think freely. The first question is, do you think religion has done more good than harm in your experience? Do you think religion has done more good than harm in your experience? The second is, do you find yourself more biased against people who have no strong religious belief, or more biased against those who have exclusivist or fundamentalist leanings? Those are the two questions. We won't return to them, but it'll give some framework. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. We need more Khemkas cultivating leadership around the world. It's such an exciting model that I hope catches on around, certainly in the States. I begin with a couple of brief stories. Picture this: a small church in the Bible Belt, conservative America, in the state of Tennessee, finds out that a local Muslim community is moving in to town. And they put up a big sign, and it says, "Welcome." This is a Christian church saying, "Welcome to our little town, Muslim community." Well, this happened. And the imam comes to the door and says, "Wow, what's the reason for this welcome?" And he said, "Well, Jesus tells us to love our neighbors, and we don't know much about Islam, but welcome." And the imam says, "Well, we were kind of hoping for more of a low-key, under-the-radar slipping into the community." And he said, "Well, welcome nonetheless." Long story short, the two communities, the Christian church and the Islamic community of that town, became closer. In fact, when Ramadan needed to be celebrated and their building was not ready yet, the Christian church invited them in to use it during that facility. So we've been pestering at Sojourners, CNN, and other places to cover more positive stories like this as we're trying to reweave the fabric of America together with demographic changes and things of that nature, and they covered the story. So we called up this pastor and said, "Here at Sojourners, we just want to thank you. That was a wonderful moment." And he said, "Why are you thanking me? It's the work of Sojourners that inspires me to do this kind of stuff." And that's very fulfilling to us. He said, "But let me tell you the rest of the story." We said, "What's that?" He said, "We got a call the other night from Kashmir. group of men sitting around, and they had just watched the story on CNN International. And he said, "Is this the pastor of that church?" He said, "Yes, that's me." He said, "Well, we just determined that God was speaking to us through you. And we're calling to tell you that we love you. And we've decided to take care of a little Christian church near our mosque forever, the rest of our lives. And we've just finished cleaning it with our hands tonight as a symbol of our dedication the rest of our lives." That's the kind of work that at Sojourners we want to continue to inspire. But if those stories can continue in our country and across, it makes sense. The second flashback is I'm talking with an imam and his spouse in New York City. And we're discussing a new project they're working on. And they say, "Rob, you think you can help us think about this project, some fundraising, things like that?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "What's your real biggest barrier?" And they said, "Our biggest problem right now is finding out how much stroller space we need for the kids who are going to come into this Islamic community center." Anyway, flash forward a few months later, and I find out, wait a minute, this is Faisal and Daisy. They're now the imam and spouse who are at the center of the so-called 9/11 mosque controversy. In other words, fear that right on that site was going to be a mosque. But it's an Islamic community center with our friends Daisy and Faisal. And so what Sojourners did is starting to put up inside of the subways in New York big signs that said, "Love your Muslim neighbor." Very simple, appealing to the best in all of us. And when the horrific Sikh attacks against Sikhs in Wisconsin happened, we did the same thing. We bought big billboards that said, "Love your Sikh neighbor." Trying to start that. So as we're trying to weave together this new path, Sojourners actually has several foci. One, when I just met Urvashi and Shiv at Davos earlier this year, we were working on launching something called the New Social Covenant. Imagine all of the old social contracts that are broken in people's minds and lives with their government, what they expect, their business, NGOs, all the broken social contracts. And how do we weave together a new social covenant? So we're launching at the World Economic Forum, at the behest of the leader of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, something called a new social covenant, where we try to help folks in government and business and NGO world reimagine a new social covenant with the dignity of the human person, stewardship of the earth, and search for the common good. That's just one of our projects. So basically, if you take the concept that the selfish individual always beats the altruistic individual, but the selfish group always loses to the altruistic group. It's a running hypothesis, E.O. Wilson, if you haven't tracked it. If you take that, the question then becomes, how do we widen the circle of we? How do we enlarge that altruistic group? Sojourners does that in a variety of ways. We try to connect the personal and religious values in everyday life to key issues of social justice. So if you think about your own spiritual walk, whether the range, I'm sure, is broad in this room of how you see spirituality and religion, how do you connect up that to the major social issues? So I'm halfway in now, and I'm going to ask this question, and please shout out answers to it. Name a driving, critical social issue that needs attention, social justice issue. Poverty. Education. Yeah, say that again. Yes, exactly. Empowerment. Gender discrimination, absolutely. Any more? Yep. Inequality, did I hear that somewhere in the back? So at Sojourners, we take these and we apply a theory of change. And here's our 10-point theory of change, and I'm happy to email it to you if you want to leave me your card. Identify the discrete social issue. So for us, one of the big ones is immigration, gender discrimination, racial relations, creation care, care for the earth, Muslim-Christian engagement. So here's our theory of change. You identify the discrete social issue. You determine the goal, where you want to get to. You find the blockages that might lead to success. Then you assess if it's winnable with your input. Is it winnable? Or is it worth losing for? The fifth is you find partners like business leader in economics, as we do on the New Social Covenant. The sixth is engage religious and faith communities in a productive manner. Seventh is discover the message that will win the day. When we found out and we talked to folks about creation care, care for the earth, so many of the Christians that we were talking to said, that doesn't apply, that does not have interest to us. We already have our own eschatology, our own sense of the end of times. You can't tell me it's the end of the world if I don't recycle or I don't take care of the earth. Find the message that's timely. The message we found on creation care was this: God created the world perfect. Human sin has messed it up. Through salvation, it can be made whole again. What the message is, it's critical. And the eighth is spread the word through social media, traditional media. The ninth is make corrections based on listening, especially the people with whom you're working and trying to solve it. And the 10th is celebrate the win that you get. We're not quite there with immigration reform in America, but we're getting a lot closer. Celebrate the win or celebrate your faithfulness in losing well. We're known as the largest progressive Christian organization in the U.S., but that's not what really excites us. Some people say, "Oh, Rob, you're doing all this interesting sizzle stuff. Bono says that you're, Jim Wallace, your founder, you're his spiritual mentor, right? And Oprah wants you to help on this project, and the World Economic Forum is doing this, and Dr. Jim Kim of the World Bank just asked us to reach out, and that's controversial because he was just here with a new report on poverty, help them engage the faith community. But for us, access to power and access to people who are influential means nothing if social transformation does not happen. So all that exciting stuff. My professors at the University of Chicago for my PhD, including Wendy Doniger, who just has a new interesting book on Hinduism you might check out. A bit of a controversy there. My professors taught me that religion can kill and religion can heal. What can we do to decrease the former, encourage the latter, but without a distrust or a problem with having religious beliefs in the first place? That is now one of the crises and the challenges is people think on one side, religion is not legitimate, it's not interesting, it's harmful, it's problematic. What can I do with that? And on the other hand, people think, no, that secular state and secular society, which makes that first claim, is problematic. So at Sojourners, we try to figure out how do you help people talk together, talk with one another, build bridges, keep the conversation going, and work for social change in ways that we can. I hope in your own work you will continue to do that and join Sojourners at sojo.net anytime you like for information, inspiration, and thanks so much for the chance to say hello.
T-Gelf, leading the change.